AEW Dynamite took place in Atlanta, Georgia tonight, and it's quite apropos that they were in Atlanta tonight because it was a tribute to WCW with that steel cage. That was an old school WCW style cage they had tonight, and of course in WCW's home in Atlanta, Georgia. One of the more underrated wrestling cities, I believe. Atlanta's always a good crowd. I know back when WCW did Nitro, they used to actually do Nitros in stadiums. They would run that Georgia Dome, the old football stadium. They ran it. They ran the Superdome as well. They ran a whole bunch of I believe they ran the Astrodome, real big football stadiums for Nitros, and they would load them up. Those were fun, man. I missed those shows. This felt like a WCW show with the cage they had, so I liked that a lot. So before that, though, we started the show off with a number one contender battle royal. Matt and Nick Jackson, of course, were the heavy favorites. There were plenty of guys here. You had Private Party, you had Jack Evans, you had SCU, you had Reynolds and Silver, you had numerous guys. You had the Jurassic Express, Private Party, the Lucha Bros, and eventually Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta, the best friends. You have a whole bunch of teams getting out, and what happens is this is kind of a tag team tournament that's a bit different. A lot of tag team tournaments in the past, from what I remember having, if one guy goes out, both guys are. So if one team member gets eliminated, everyone the other guy's out. Here it's basically like a regular team match, but it's like a regular battle royal in the sense that it's winner take all, but of course you're representing your team. So if one guy gets out, everyone's a winner. So more like a traditional battle royal, if you will. Eventually, you have the final five, which are Matt Jackson, Trent Butcher, Santana, and Ortiz. Eventually, Matt Jackson is able to face Santana and Ortiz as they come down to the final three, and he's able to eliminate them both. He hits a super kick to Santana, knocking him out. Then he hit the super kick to interfering with Sammy Guevara, and hit another third super kick to Ortiz for the elimination. So Matt Jackson gets the win. Him and Nick get the tag team title shot against Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, and that's going to be a good match. Next, you had Shanna against Chris Statlander, Britt Baker on commentary. It really shows the AEW Women Division sucks. It's the worst. Slow match, not much saying there. It was okay. There's just not much there. Statlander wins. I'm not so high on her. They didn't really have much for Britt Baker this week. They gave her so much TV time last couple of weeks, not much this week. They show highlights from Rhea and Nyla Rose from last week. Tony Schiavone interviews Nyla Rose. She heals on the crowd. She says she's the queen bee in this hive, and no one can stack up to her. She'll never lose her belt. And then they had Chris Statlander and Big Swole come to the stage, and they both pointed at her title. And basically, I don't know, they're just like a triple threat. I'm not sure. They show Jeff Cobb with introduction of who he is, with what they did last week. Taz comes out on commentary, and now you have him with Jim Ross and who's the other guy? He's replacing Schiavone, I think. Excalibur or whatever. Yeah, Taz was way better. He was way better here. You had Jericho, Hager, and Guevara at ringside, and next you had Jon Moxley against Jeff Cobb. I thought it was pretty solid overall. I enjoyed it. They did well here. They really have to get Jeff Cobb over. They want to make him into this badass. I think with Jeff Cobb is right when you debut him, you're going to put him against Jon Moxley. This is a situation where he has to lose his first match. I don't know really what the situation with Jeff Cobb is. If they have long-term plans for Jeff Cobb, I assume probably not the way they booked him tonight. But the only thing is with Jeff Cobb is that when you have him in here, you want to get him over, but at the same time, you have to build up Jon Moxley, and he's going to be facing for the title in a couple of weeks, so he obviously cannot lose at all. Now, what you had to do here is have Jon Moxley beat Jeff Cobb, and that's exactly what happened. Moxley gets the win. He is able to get him in a cradle. He's able to pin him, and he gets the win over Cobb. However, after Belly had Jericho, Hager, Guevara, and Cobb started beating down Moxley. Dustin Rhodes tries to make the save, but he gets beaten up as well. Lights go out. Darby Allin appears on the stage. He comes to the ring on a skateboard. He runs wild, and eventually it comes down to Jericho and Moxley come face to face. Their last two standing, and Jericho bails. He runs out. Moxley stands up, Straw stands tall. Now this is a good segment to build the pay-per-view, and it was well done, so that sets it up. Next, AEW World Tag Team titles are on the line. We have Kenny Omega and Hangman Page defending their titles against Pentagon and Rey Fenix. This was a very, very, very good match. All these teams are great. Two of the best workers in the company are these two. Like between these four guys, all of them are great. This was a hell of a match, very exciting. Rey Fenix and Pentagon Jr. are always fantastic. They always have great matches. They always deliver. They always do very well in these matches. And I think Omega and Page are a good tag team. I like the feud. I like how it continues. I like how eventually they're going to go to the Young Bucks. And I assume they're probably going to lose their belts to the Young Bucks. I don't know if it'll be this pay-per-view or next or in the next show, but eventually the Young Bucks are going to take the belts from them. And it sets it up perfectly in a way where which you can finally split Omega and Page. It's set up an Omega and Page match down the road. But I think they're doing a very good job building this up. And I think they've done well here. I really like it. I'm enjoying it. I thought the match was great. It was an exciting match. You had moves on the floor. You had some dives. You had pop-up power bombs. You had cool V-triggers. You had matches in which it looked like you had a really good sequence. You had Paige who hit a dive off the post onto Phoenix. So there was a lot of dives. Eventually to finish off, Omega and Paige hit Phoenix with a combination V-trigger and a buckshot lariat. Paige covers and pins Phoenix. The Bucks ran down and helped Omega up. And then Adam Page is angry, so he leaves the ring and he drinks fans' beer, and that's how he celebrates. So that's how it's going to be. Ray and Phoenix and Pentagon are the best tag team I think they got, and Omega and Page did very well here, and it sets up the big tag match. They do this thing with AEW action figures, and they're showing the wrestlers. Get this, the action figures. So this was a pretty cool segment. Pac and Hangman Page Pac and Kenny Omega is a 30-minute Iron Man match next week, and the Best Friends against the Butcher and the Blade is also going to happen next week. I believe that's in Kansas City. The video package recapping the Cody MJF feud was good. They set up the cage, and this is cool because the bottom of the cage isn't secured to the ring, so it's basically it's almost like a Hell in a Cell to the ring, if you will. So it's like an old school WWE cage, and it's not meant for climbing, which is cool. Which I like how it's basically done to keep the guys in the cage, and it's real. It feels like a real cage. I just a lot like guys just jumping on top to do a big move on the top. It's the purpose when they keep them in there, and they did well here. So Cody against Wardlow in a submission, pinfall, or submission only. Again, it keeps them in the cage. The whole purpose. I thought this was a very good match. I liked it a lot. I enjoyed it. Cody's busted open early in the match. He bleeds for a bit. He's cut pretty open and on the top of his forehead, so he got some blood here. It was an exciting match. It went back and forth. He knew Cody was going to win, but he had MJF there. He tries to climb the cage, but Brandy hits him with a chair, and he goes after Brandy, but Arn Anderson throws him into the crowd, which was funny. Eventually, you go back in the ring to Cody and Wardlow, and you have some cool sequences. You had Cody hit the crossroads onto Wardlow, but Wardlow kicks out, and then of course this comes to the best spot of the show. This is great. Cody climbs to the top of the cage, and he does a moonsault onto Wardlow for the crazy holy shit moment. We've seen moonsaults before, but this one looked crazy. Cody's done a moonsault from the cage before, but this was crazy because Wardlow was standing up. He catches Wardlow, he stands up. 1, 2, 3. Cody gets the win. He gets the match with MJF. MJF retreats to the aisle. Cody climbs the cage. He taunts MJF. He waves to the crowd. This was a great way to end the angle. Great way to build to the show. Great way to really build this up well. This was a great angle. This was a great match. I enjoyed it. They didn't do too much here, but I thought they did the best. Everything they needed to do. But this was a great way to set it up, Cody and MJF. So I liked the cage match a lot. I liked the look of the cage. I liked that we had blood. I liked how we had a good spot at the end. I thought it was really well done. I liked the presentation overall. I thought this was a very good AEW Dynamite show.